Hi, I'm Grant from Tella, and in this video I'm going to show you how to edit your first video in Tella. So here we are in the Tella editor. You can see I have a video with two clips, clip 1 and clip 2. Clip 1 has my screen and camera, and clip 2 has just a clip of my camera. Now, the best way for you to learn how to edit videos in Tella is just to watch me editing this video, and I'll explain what I'm doing as we go. So let's jump into it. Now, before I go too much further, a quick little bit of orientation. Basically, we'll be spending our time mostly working our way through these tools on the right. When you switch tool, you get a different set of options here where you can start kicking off the particular type of edit that you want to make. The first one that you'll see when you open up the editor for the first time is this setup panel where you can change some general settings to your video. For example, you can switch on the edit faster toggle, and that will use low resolution video files to make the editing process faster. But the first thing we're going to do to edit this video is we're going to cut it up. We are going to remove all the parts that we don't want. So I can just pick a point on the timeline, click split, pick another point, click split, and then push the delete key to cut out that segment, and now I've removed a part from my video. So I can work my way through the video and just remove parts like this, and then I can clean up my video like that. You can click and drag on the handles for these little segments to fine-tune the initial cuts that you make, and as you go through your video you'll then end up with a nicely cleaned up video with none of the stuff that you don't need. The other thing you can do is you can just click and drag on the handles here to remove the silent parts at the start and the end of the video. That's a pretty common edit that you want to make. This cleans up the opening part and the end part by trimming a video like that. Now, this works all very well, but there's a faster way to do this using AI-powered cutting tools. So if you head up to the panel here, you can run our mistakes finder that will analyze your video, find all your mistakes where you repeat yourself or start over, suggest them, and then you can cut them right away. We've got our buffer removal tool, which does exactly what I did just a few moments ago, but much faster. When you click this, it removes the silent part at the end and the silent part at the start in one go, and then you can play around with our silence removal tool and filler word removal tool. So if I hit remove silences, you can see that that has cut a couple extra silences for me here. If you change the setting all the way up to faster, you can see it's going to cut a lot more silences. That really cuts up the timeline like you can see there. I'm just going to go back to natural because that's a little bit more my style. Cool. So now we have trimmed our video. Let's move on to adding some zoom effects. So to open up the zoom tool, just click on zoom, and then that will give you this little side panel here, and then you'll get a dedicated timeline for adding zooms. To add a zoom, just pick a point on the timeline and click and drag, and then you'll see that you get a zoom added to your video. You can then adjust the handles at the start of the zoom to adjust its duration, and then you can actually just click and drag on the whole thing and move that to a different point in your video. And so if we just scrub through this, you can see what it's doing. It zooms in on my pointer there, on my cursor, and then zooms out. Then you can just work your way through the video, adding more zooms, and you get this nice animation highlighting important stuff on your screen. What it highlights is based on the movement of your mouse. So I've got the auto option set, and then just control the scale. So if I want this to zoom in more or less, I can adjust that with the slider here. If you switch to manual, then you can manually set the target for the zoom. So instead of it tracking your cursor, it'll just go where you tell it to. So if I put it up here, you can see that that now zooms in to that point. If you add another zoom immediately after, so if you can connect the zoom together, what you can do with the manual zooms is you can create this nice panning effect where it moves from this point, and instead of zooming out, it's just going to pan over to that next point. So that can be quite a fun effect. Now, just like trims, there is a faster way to do this. If you are recording videos using our Mac app, then you can use our auto zoom feature where we apply the zooms for you. So instead of you having to figure out what you want to highlight, Tella will add zooms for you based on where you click in the video. It'll zoom in at that moment to highlight whatever it is that you're trying to show. You can pick between 3 different styles. I'm just going to stick with subtle for now. We hit generate, wait a few moments, and you can see it's added 2 zooms for me. Let's check out this one. This one zooms in while I'm clicking on these little tabs on the Tella website. And then if we jump to this one, you can see this one zooms in while I am moving the slider on this little comparison part of the site. Just like manual ones, once you've added them automatically, you can control the scale of them, so you can make this zoom in more or less. You can adjust the position of them, the duration, all of that good stuff. So that is how you add zooms manually or automatically to your video. Let's move on and add some layouts. Okay, so to add layouts, click on the layout panel. You'll get this set of options of all the different layouts you can choose from. Have a look through these and pick one that you think is the overall look for your video that you want. Once you've found that, you can then move down to the timeline here and add layout changes. So where it switches away from the base layout that you've just picked to a different layout. So just click and drag, and that will add this period on the timeline where it switches away from the base layout into this new layout that you've added. So as we scrub through this, you can see it smoothly transitions into a full screen shot of me talking, and then transitions back to the screen and camera recording while I do my demo. You can click and drag to move this around on the timeline. You can click the handles to adjust its duration, and you can select the entire layout and then pick something else if you want to change the purpose of that layout change. If you add multiple layouts and then stack them together, you can create quite cool effects where instead of it returning to the base layout, it will smoothly transition immediately into whatever other layout you've now stacked with it. You can combine as many of these as you want together to create cool effects to add to your video. So just work your way through your video, adding as many of these layout changes that you want. If you want to change the base layout, just click in between the layouts that you've added where you can see the waveform highlighted, and then you can click on a different layout and that will update the base layout for everything except the layout changes that you've added, represented by the gray sections here on the timeline. Now, just like the cut tool, just like the zoom tool, there is a faster way to do this. You can have your layouts generated for you automatically using our auto layouts tool. So head down here, pick a template. You can let Tella figure out what is the best template for your video, or you can pick one that works for what you are making. I'll pick demo, hit generate, give that a few moments, and then you'll start to see a bunch of new layouts added to your video. I'll see you back here in a few moments once the layouts have finished generating. All right, so our layouts have been added, and you can see it's added a bunch of these layouts on the timeline for us. We don't have to go through and figure out where to do these or which combinations to add. AI does all of that for us. So we can like zoom in a little bit here and see what it's done. So right at the beginning, it's added a nice little intro animation where it goes from full screen camera to this sort of smaller version of that and then transitions into the demo. That's a really nice way to open a video, catches your viewer's attention, and then we've got a few of these changes throughout. And so you can play back the video, you can increase the playback speed if you want to then review the changes that it's made. Just like adding them manually, you can adjust their position, adjust their duration, completely remove them, change them, whatever you like. I'm pretty happy with how this has all turned out, so let's move on to wrap up our editing process. One of the final things that I want to do is change the background of my video. So I've opened up the background tool by clicking on this button here, and then I am going to switch to this one here, which is one that I quite like. It's a sort of blueprint pattern. You can also check out our animated backgrounds. You can create your own colors and gradients. I'll stick with this one for now. And I also want my other clip to have this background, so I'm going to push apply to all clips, and that will mean that every clip in my video has this consistent look. Now, the final thing that I'm going to show you is I want to clean up the look of my screen recording. It looks fine, but you can see there's the border of my browser and my Mac's menu bar. I'd want to remove that so I just get this super clean view of the Tella website. And to do that, I'm going to click Adjust, and then crop, and then I can manually set the crop using these tools here. You can drag around on the canvas as well, but I'm going to use the auto crop tool, which will figure that out for me, and you can see it's nicely cropped to just what I want, and it's removed all the stuff that I don't want. So I'm going to hit crop 12 layouts, and now you can see that my video looks really nice and clean. And that is basically all there is to it. You can go deeper into editing. There's subtitles, there's borders, there's a bunch of other tools that you can play around with, or you can keep it super simple and just have a couple edits that you make. It's totally up to you and what videos you are making. All that's left to do now is to share this video as a link or export it, and all of that stuff is covered in the next onboarding video.